ready. It's time to forge the narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. The real intro is going to be on the second part of the show because we recorded it after we recorded this. So if you hear things that you said, oh, they should have covered that already, yes, we should have, because we recorded that segment before we're doing this. But we now have the Tau Codex in hand. It came really late, and we want to get this show out in time, so we're going to do some brief coverage, about 30 minutes of coverage on some of the things that I think people are going to be the most curious about going into this kind of rumor release schedule. The GW from the community team and all the other shows are going to be doing and stuff. But we wanted to get it out as soon as we can. So I'm joined right now by Justin Troop and Chris Morgan.
This is the Inception episode.
Just nobody tell the Ordo Chronos what happened here today.
If you guys are listening to us on iTunes and stuff, please give us a 5-star rating and a subscription. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please subscribe and a like and a comment if you haven't already. I know there's a lot of Tau players out there, so I'm going to get right to the heart of the matter. I want to talk about Vespids.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry. I meant to say I want to talk about...
And everyone stopped listening.
I want to talk about Riptides.
Yeah, low-key Vespids are the best unit in the game.
I don't know about all that. But Riptides were everywhere for, an edition and a half or so. And I mean, they're cool models. They're the model that they got me actually kind of interested in the Tau. I don't like the kind of the spindly nature of some of the original Crisis suits and that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, they're awesome, and I love the feel and I love anime, and I understand why they look that way, but I thought that there was just something a little bit missing from those models. But when the Riptides came out, I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah, I remember the Riptide being the first of the, it seems like everything you can do, I can do better, scaling up of giant robot suits. There's the Riptide, and then I think the Imperial Knight was right after that, and then the Wraith Knight was right after that, and everything just kept getting taller.
I know that it took a big beating in the index with points, mostly points. I mean, I think it was, I don't know, what was a Riptide with its standard equipment of what an ion accelerator and fusion blasters and stuff. What was that in the index?
So the Riptide by itself was just 209. With the Ion Accelerator, that was another 107 points.
Good
just
God.
For that. So right now we're looking at almost Primarch cost just for the main gun. And then that doesn't include any of the secondary or support systems or any of that.
Well, the smart missile systems, what do they run in the index?
Now the smart missile systems are at 20 points a pop. So for two of those, that's 40 more points. It's very expensive.
Yeah, a lot of points. So right now, the Riptide in the Codex has seen a point decrease pretty much across the board. The main body of the Riptide is 185 points.
Oh, that's significant, yeah, that's good.
It's got 14 wounds, still a 2+ save. It has a ballistic skill of 4+, so... But that's what we're used to, I believe.
Yeah, that's just Tau, right?
The Ion Accelerator is 65 points.
That is quite the significant points reduction.
So let's look at the Heavy Burst Cannon. I actually like the Heavy Burst Cannon, I think, a little bit better than the Ion Accelerator, if you ask me. What's the Heavy Burst Cannon in the index?
The Heavy Burst Cannon's points are 55.
It is now 35 points.
Oh, man. That's a steal.
What I like about the Heavy Burst Cannon, and we'll kind of go down some of the stats and everything, is that it is Heavy 12. This is the standard profile. It's Heavy 12, which I think that's an increase in shots.
Four more shots on the standard. Yeah,
it's Strength 6, Neg 1 AP, Damage 2.
So it went up by 1 damage for the standard as well. I look at the Heavy Burst Cannon versus the Ion Accelerator, much like we look at Imperial Knight close combat attacks, where no one is swinging the chainsword, everybody's just river dancing because you're rolling more dice. Statistically, that means you're going to be getting more damage netted through, right?
Well, with the points decrease, the volume of shots increase, and the damage increase, this thing is just through the roof better. There's no getting around it at this point. That's probably one of the best upgrades that we've seen to date.
And this is not the Nova Charge either. This is just the standard profile shooting on this thing. And if I can compare it to the Fire Raptor, the nose cone in the Fire Raptor is Strength 6, Heavy 10, 2 damage, and it wears people out.
Yep. Of course, the Fire Raptor hits on 3s.
It does, and I think its AP might be -2 on the nose cone also.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that. I'm not looking at it right now. But it's the similar kind of concept. A lot of shots, damage 2. You're going to get a few through, and when you do, it's going to count.
So basically, the last year or so that we haven't seen any Riptides, we've been enjoying it. Those days are over, and
I don't know that they're over, but if you go with the Ion Accelerator, which is 72-inch range, so there's nothing to sneeze at there. But the standard profile is Strength 8, Neg 3 AP, D3 damage. The overcharge profile is Heavy D6, Strength 9, Neg 3 damage. But you can hurt yourself when you're shooting that. Again, this is not Nova Reactor either. This is just the ability to overcharge that gun. If you were to take that loadout with a pair of smart missile systems, your Riptide is looking at 280 points. If you take the heavy burst cannon, I believe you're down to, you lose 30 points off of that. So you're down to 250 points.
Yeah, fitting 2 or 3 burst cannon tides in the lists, I think is going to be something that we see as standard stock.
You can take a couple of drones. I think the drones start to get kind of price prohibitive because you have to buy the drone and then you've got to buy the missile pod that goes on the drone. And the drones, 25 points a piece. The missile pods are, I believe, they're 24 points a piece. So you're looking at almost 100 points just for if you buy the additional drones. I'm not sure the upside is there. I could be wrong because I don't know how it's going to fit into a real list yet. That's something we'll explore on the next episode. But the drones to me seem like they're a little bit expensive, even though some part of the drone rules, you can dump wounds off to them. It's basically get to look outside of the drones kind of thing, or it's drones near them. It doesn't have to be drones purchased with the model itself.
The main reason I feel like you're taking the drones isn't so much for the missile pods, but it's for the invulnerable save. But where you can overcharge the Nova Shield, at least in the index, to a 3+ invulnerable save on a 2+ armor save model, it doesn't really seem worth it to me.
Well, the savior protocols, it says if a Sept infantry or Sept battlesuit unit within 3 inches of a friendly Sept drone unit is wounded by enemy attack, roll a d6. On a 2+, you can allocate that wound to the drone's unit instead of the target. If you do, that drone unit suffers a mortal wound instead of the normal damage.
Do the drones have more than 1 wound right now?
They don't.
Yeah, so you're spending, 50 points a drone for an invulnerable save that you don't get to take because you just allocate a mortal wound to it? I'm not seeing it.
You think about it as just how many points would you pay for an additional wound on the Riptide? It's like how many points, like with Mortarion's bodyguard, you have to think, how many more points am I spending just to give Mortarion more wounds? And so that's the value. I think that's the value proposition you have to make to yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm not propositioning myself with drones in this circumstance. I don't think 1 wound is worth 50 points.
I'll back crew.
Well, you do get the missiles also with the drones, and the Riptide also has the ability to take things like fusion blasters instead of the missiles and stuff. So they still have all the ways that you can kit them out, but I think they did get significantly cheaper in a way that should make people happy.
I think you're definitely right about that. The points decrease, let's be fair, was definitely needed.
Oh, it had to be. Yeah, they were priced into obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's fun for anybody. I mean, as much as we used to kind of hate playing against Riptide Wing and them shooting twice and everything else, they still look cool. And certainly if you're a Tau player, you want to play with the big stompy robots.
Yeah, you want to play with the cool stuff. That said, if this is going to be one of the things that helps create more diverse Tau lists, I'm kind of for it. We already know that commander spam is dead. Just because of the 1 commander per detachment limit. So anything that provides a viable option that allows Tau players to use models that most of them have, the dedicated Tau players will have at least 3 to 6 Riptides left over from the last edition. So we know that they're going to have them. We're just going to be seeing them back on the table.
So as we were talking about the Riptide, with the missile systems and just the heavy burst cannon, 250 points is pretty good, I think, if you ask me, for being able to put out that high rate of fire with the 2 damage weapon. And then that doesn't count the Nova ability. The Riptide has the shield generator with a 5+ invulnerable save. It's got the Tau rule for the greater good. And then the Nova reactor. In your movement phase, you can choose to use this model's Nova reactor. If you do, the model suffers a mortal wound. So, take that for what it's worth. Choose one of the following effects to last until the beginning of your next turn. Nova Shield, increase the invulnerable save to 3+. And boost, the model can move 2d6 in your charge phase, even if it doesn't declare a charge. And then the Nova Charge. Choose for either the Heavy Burst Cannon type to change to Heavy 18, or its Ion Accelerator type to change to Heavy 6. So the Ion Accelerator is Heavy D6. It maxes it, changes it to a straight 6, and the Heavy Burst Cannon goes to an 18.
And did you say it always costs a mortal wound to do this?
Yes.
Yes. It's not a roll.
I like that.
When you've got 14 wounds, especially at the start of the game, who's going to not take that risk?
That's when you kind of have to ask yourself, are the drones worth it at that point, to where I'm giving up a wound and I'm trading it for this drone? Not that you can dump that wound. I mean, you're not reducing your effective max at that point after you Nova Charge a couple times.
I think if you're going to do that, you're not going to do it with shielded missile drone. You're probably going to do it with a cheapo gun drone.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. Yeah, I think that's very fair to say.
The other thing I think is worth mentioning when it comes to the Nova reactor is how there are so many different benefits that come from playing aggressive with these in the early game. If you were worried about being killed and you really feel like you need that 3+ invulnerable save, then maybe you'll want to take it. But I feel like with a Nova Charge on a Heavy Burst Cannon going to Heavy 18, if your insurance game is up, aka the Marker Light game is strong enough, you could potentially deliver a really heavy haymaker to your opponent's army with a shooting attack from this thing.
Well, and
or
also,
3 of them.
It lasts until the start of your next turn, so if you're charged in the enemy phase, then you do get to Overwatch at that higher profile also.
Mm-hmm. Now, since we're talking about these with the assumption that people are going to take multiples of them in their list, and that may be true. What do you think the loadouts are mostly going to be? Or do you think they're going to be 3 Heavy Burst Cannon, or do you think throwing 1 Ion Accelerator in there might be worth it?
I think it's going to be all volume of fire. And you can really kind of spec these out. Even the smart missile systems are Heavy 4. You get 2 of those. That's 8 shots from that. You get the shots from the Heavy Burst Cannon. The Riptide, it comes standard with the Heavy Burst Cannon and 2 smart missile systems, and then it may be accompanied by the missile drones. Then you can replace both of its smart missile systems for 2 plasma rifles or 2 fusion blasters, which I think we'll probably see a lot of people keep just the missile systems because they can fire out things that are outside of line of sight. I mean, whatever, there's utility there. And the model may replace its Heavy Burst Cannon with an Ion Accelerator, and the model may take up to 2 items from the support systems list.
And that's where we get into kind of our interceptor stuff, right?
It's got the advanced targeting system, and you pay different points for different things. Like, it's more expensive on a Ghost Kill and a Riptide than it is for the other suits, things of that nature. I like how they have it broken out there. But that would be, that is going to be the stuff from, what it was in the previous editions.
There you go.
So let's talk about the broadsides. The broadsides are something that, again, was one of those things that everyone took because they were absolutely awesome for a period of time. And I think that between more attractive options, i.e. Riptide Wing, that they kind of fell by the wayside after the Firebase Cadre kind of fell out of style.
Yeah, losing that formation.
After the Death Star became so prevalent as well.
This is why I made Super Friends.
Mm-hmm.
They like to go on and on about the disappointed look on many a Tau player. It didn't change the fact they still sat there and rolled dice for 2 hours while I stared at them. But when they were used to removing everyone's models and they could only remove 1 model,
it was a good feeling. It was a nice little thank you back.
Yeah. I loved it. But those times are behind us. I will cherish it from that part of the edition, though.
Stop living in the past, Chris. Jeez.
I've moved on.
Okay, so the Broadside, the XV-88 Broadside battlesuits. This is now what's the Broadside cost in the index?
Base cost for the Broadside is 80.
Now
for a
there's
heavy
60.
rail rifle. Okay, so that's already significantly better.
The rail rifle is 35 points now.
And that's that heavy rail rifle, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because the rail rifle, I think that's the Pathfinder one, so it's important to make that distinction.
That's fair. Yeah, the heavy rail rifle is 35 points now.
Right, so that's down by about half-ish. We'll call it a little bit less than half from 63. And then the high yield missile pod in the index is 41 points.
It is 20 points. Sorry, 25. My apology. It is 25 points
for a single high yield missile pod.
So 2 will be 50.
Right.
You can take the smart missile systems. They're 15 points apiece, so it puts them into 30-point range. A Broadside now is 140 points with the high yield missile. The high yield missile pods and the smart missile systems.
Now, what is the wound profile on those things?
It has 6 wounds.
Okay, so
that's 5 with a 2+ armor save.
And that's not terrible. 6 wounds. If I remember correctly, they used to have 2 in the last edition.
They did, yeah, they did, and they didn't. These things don't degrade, so they're kind of like Sentinels, in that regard.
I don't know. I'm looking at these things, and I'm kind of feeling like they're maybe not quite the same as like a rapier battery, but just like a walking heavy weapons platform. Of some variety. I
mean, without looking at some of the other support stuff that they take or they have and those systems, the high yield missile pod being a heavy 4, and I don't see any way to reduce the lack of having a -1 if you move. That's something to consider. But that's the same with the heavy rail rifle also. But the heavy rail rifle has a 60-inch range, so it's less likely you actually need to move.
Yeah, and the AP -4 on that isn't something to be ignored.
Yeah, D6 damage with like the sniper roll. So when you make a wound roll of a 6+, then they take a mortal wound in addition. The target takes a mortal wound.
Insult to injury rule. But yeah, I think that there are some of the Sept tenets that allow for heavy weapons to be treated like assault weapons or to ignore penalties or things like that, perhaps stratagems. I think that there's some flexibility there, but you are going to have to either sacrifice in either composition or theme or command points in order to pull that off.
Well, I mean, being 36-inch range, theoretically things will be coming to you because they want to kill you.
I will be.
Yeah. There's a lot of good assault armies out there. So you're going to... I'm not saying it's a deal breaker. I'm saying that is maybe why we saw a reduction in points, because their effectiveness is not quite what it used to be, and now the points have caught up. I like the smart missile systems being heavy 4, they're strength 5, damage 1 though. The high yield missile pods are damage D3.
I still like that loadout, man. I still feel like you have a large threat range. Your volume of fire is still very high. It's quality shoots. To me, it's just, it's definitely not what it was, but I think it's still very viable, especially in the current meta. That's going to wipe away a bubble wrap pretty quick.
It's a lot of shots. I mean, every one of these
24 missiles. Yeah.
Well, the high-end missile pod is 4 each. Smart missile systems is 4
right.
each.
That's right. Okay. I was thinking 8 each for a second. I was doing math in my head too fast.
Well, I thought you meant for a squad. Like, it's a lot of shots from a squad of these guys.
Yeah, it's going to tear apart stuff pretty quick. I mean, even things like your rhinos, which we're seeing with your chaos, a little bit of a rhino rush again with the berserkers inside. It's going to start wiping those off the board pretty quick. I think there's play there. I think we're going to see them in lists because people have them and they do still look cool. And I think the points have been brought back into line to make them table ready again.
Well, as if for 140 points, you get one of these dudes, and it is a lot of firepower. And where it matters, it's a battle suit, and then you can also, I believe, equip it with some other things. So
here's a question for you, Paul, while you're looking at stuff. The broadsides in the keywords in the index have the fly keyword. Is that still a thing?
They do. They do have the fly keyword. Drone. I'm sorry. No. The broadsides themselves do not have it. The drones.
But the drones. Okay, yep, that's right. Now I was misreading that. I was just about to have my mind blown about the idea of like a broadside charging a fire raptor or something. Just thinking, what? Wait.
Each one of these broadsides can take one item from the support systems list.
Yeah.
So there's probably ways to mitigate and make them more effective and stuff in that way too.
I will confess a little bit of disappointment that the heavy rail rifle will still probably not see the table, because that is definitely the cooler looking of the two options aesthetically.
Yeah, the way they have it, like the new model, the way they have it kind of underslung almost.
It has a giant freaking gun. It is so cool looking.
While I'm here,
yeah,
we can talk about the Vespid Stingwings.
Boom. That's what I've been waiting on.
They've got a 14-inch movement range with an 18-inch Assault 2 gun.
That doesn't suck.
Well, I mean, it might still suck, but it is neg 2 AP.
What's the damage?
Again, doesn't suck.
Yeah, you're right. And they get the plunge from the sky. During deployment, you can set this unit up high in the sky. Instead of placing it on the battlefield, if you do so, it can plunge from the sky at the end of your movement phase. Set it up anywhere that is more than 9 inches away from enemy models.
I don't know, man. I still think, like, with their points cost being pretty low, I mean, yeah, the weapons aren't great. But
the Neutron Blaster, that's their gun. It's 0 points. So you're just paying for the Vespid.
Free.
Yeah. You're just paying for the Vespid itself, and the Vespid Stingwing are 14 points apiece.
That's an annoying unit
armor save
for cheap.
It's a 4+ armor save.
4+ armor save, and they're hitting on 4s, yeah?
They are hitting on 4s.
Okay, yeah. So you're paying a Space Marine cost for something not quite as durable, but with a better gun. And a little bit more mobile.
The mobility and the neg 2, it is Assault 2. It's Assault 2, so all that matters. So you're moving around.
Yeah, it's better than a stock Marine, but by a lot. But it's a unit that they often get overlooked. First off, the model, terrible. It's so outdated. But these guys can harass, like they can get to where they need to be. They can lock something down. They can hold it down. They can be annoying for a round or two. I
do not want to oversell the Vespids, but in a world where progressive objectives and stuff exist, having an otherwise what might be a gunline type army, having things that can kind of get out there and score a couple of points while you're getting in position or wearing your opponent down just through weight of fire. Maybe there's some value in that.
Somewhere.
I'm gonna oversell them. It's just for me. I think they're probably one of the better units in the book.
What?
And I've said that before. Just out of sheer points
utility
and what you can do.
Okay. I think that Justin Troop just has a bunch of Vespids. He wants to sell like Dark Reapers on eBay.
All right, stop announcing it, Chris. Jesus, I'm slowly introducing them into the market.
That's the way to do it. Let's talk about the marker light table.
Ew.
So if a model other than a vehicle fires a marker light, it cannot fire any other weapons in that phase. Keep that in mind. When a unit is hit by a marker light, place a counter next to it for the remainder of the phase. The table below describes the benefit Tau Empire models receive when shooting at a unit that has marker light counters. All benefits are cumulative. That's pretty good.
And I like the way that they worded that too. So it's like everybody in the Tau Codex basically gets it.
Yeah, for one marker light, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for Tau Empire models attacking the unit. Destroyer and Seeker missiles fired at the unit. This is for 2. Destroyer and Seeker missiles fired at the unit use the firing model's ballistic skill rather than only hitting on 6. For 3 marker lights, the target unit does not gain any bonuses to its saving throw for being in cover. And the 4 marker lights, Tau Empire models attacking this unit do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons or advancing and firing assault weapons. So there's one way to get around it. Weird things we were talking about. 5 or more, add 1 to hit rolls for Tau Empire models attacking this unit.
And
I like it.
I feel like if you're going to go for marker lights, you're going to need to go deep, and I hope that they are cheap. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, marker lights, now this is not counting the caddy that's taking them, are 3 points.
Okay.
So it doesn't count what it's on, but the marker light itself is 3 points.
Okay. Well, 3 points, I mean, that's a little bit more than a hand flamer, so... Are we going to call this reasonably priced?
I think that's reasonably priced. Again, I don't know what all they can be on just yet, but I think that is for being a mainstay in the Tau army that you're going to want and want to exploit. I think that's reasonably priced.
Well, the cumulative benefits is definitely good. I was expecting the +1 to hit to be a little bit lower on the table.
Well, yeah, you're probably right, but I do like how they don't go away. It's not like this unit spins it or whatever. You just place it next to the unit, and then everyone gets the benefit.
Yeah, they still sound like a battlefield multiplier.
Yeah,
and the versatility that they bring, allowing you to manipulate this unit is going to benefit from this type of a benefit. This is going to buff another. It doesn't make them a one-trick pony. It truly gives them versatility to buff out no matter what units you're taking. So they're going to be a mainstay in the lists. We've seen it where 2 to 3 units of these bad boys are on the table for a reason, and I think that's going to be no change.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're taking a break with the coverage right now. We'll come back. I may try to do something extended to go over some of the other units, and then our next main show will be about some army list and tactics and whatnot. But this is a big book. It's 136 pages or something like that, and it has the Tau fortifications, got all the shield wall and stuff in here. Of course, rules for all the seps and stuff that we've been seeing, and pages of stratagems and signature systems. It's a very fleshed out book. I mean, it's going to be a shot in the arm. We will see more Tau on the tables in tournaments without question.
I think that can only be a good thing for the game, and that's exactly what codexes have done for each faction so far.
Yeah, I think the Tau took the biggest hit with the index, where just things were just kind of, pointed so high that it was difficult to take them and even have a reasonable expectation of doing well in a competitive scene.
I felt that way for Eldar too. You remember the freaking bar, like it was Oprah's price slashing moment with the Eldar Codex too. So
yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, hopefully this is it. But there's also a ton of synergy. So there's ways that everything can stack up, and you get that. Yeah, I think you get that real feel of the way the computer systems and the Tau internet or whatever was supposed to work. And anyway, it just feels like it to me, and it's going to be kind of fun to pour over and see what the cool combos are.
It's always been that way with them. So
yeah, I think
definitely
it plays out even harder here now. I really think that way because of the stratagems and all the SEP rules and then just some of the base rules on the models themselves.
It's going to be fun diving in.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that next week. So look, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with most of this crew and some other guys too, where we have some general shenanigans. It's basically like a 30-minute long finishing move segment. But
it's been a while since we rambled like that. It was a really good time. You guys should enjoy it.
It's fun. It was a fun time, and I think it's going to be entertaining to listen to. But anyway, check back with us very soon. We'll do some more Tau coverage. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Cheers.
Sushi out.
Frontline Gaming is excited to announce that tickets are now on sale for the LVO 2018. Taking place January 26th through the 28th at Bally's Casino in Las Vegas, the event will feature gaming, seminars, and social events. Don't wait, get your tickets at LasVegasOpen.net today.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. This is episode, 200 and what are we on, Val?
Gosh, we're on 230, Paul Murphy.
I'm joined today by Ricky Addington and Chris Morgan.
Hello.
Hey.
And Val Heffelfinger.
How's it going, everybody?
This is a segment we're doing before we have the Tau Codex in hand. You can expect some Tau coverage coming up pretty soon, but I thought we'd get the boys together and do a little recording while we're waiting on that, do some general podcast fare. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you guys for joining us.
Seems fair.
It's an all-you-can-listen buffet.
I appreciate y'all taking the time tonight.
It's a pretty good night. Nobody in my Dungeons and Dragons party died, and my son talked my wife into making cookies. So this is just going to cap it off pretty good.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I'm full on Adepticon prep right now. I am getting stuff ready to go for the team tournament. We are playing Death Guard, and I love painting Death Guard. I love playing Death Guard, and I've got 4 or 5 tanks to build. I have figured out though that I've put combi bolters on a couple of Sicarans, and I don't have any combi bolters, so got to figure something out.
Well, when you say you're building tanks and you're playing Death Guard, I assume you're talking about Predator tanks, right? Because that's what's really good with Death Guard right now.
If a Sicaran is a Predator, then yes. And if Plague Burst Crawlers are Predators, then you are also correct.
That is exactly what I was hoping you were going to say.
When you said tanks, I just assumed Plague Burst Crawler. So if you're going to have something other than a Plague Burst Crawler, that's shocking.
Let me tell you the horror. This is today. This is after work, and I'm just trying to get some stuff primed and before dinner, and so I can come back down here and do some painting and stuff. And so I go out on my back patio, and I have the stuff in a box, like box top, a box that the stuff comes in. I've got two sets of cannons, 2 sets of the actual Plague Burst mortar, and then the spikes that go on the Plague Burst crawler. And I prime them a different color. I prime them brown. Just I'm talking about just Krylon brown. For where I'm going with the color, I think brass goes really well over that. You can overbrush brass on that brown, and you don't have to weather it as much. It's a time saver. I enjoy it. So I prime them brown, and then I set the box down on the ground, and then I go and I'm doing something inside. I'm doing something else, some other kind of prep work inside. The wind comes and blows that box across my yard.
Worst case scenario.
It is.
Oh my gosh, that happened to me once with the Infinity Commission.
It's Nurgle though. It's Nurgle though, right? So doesn't this just help it?
Only if you find all the pieces, Ricky.
That's fine.
Is this how we come full circle to the combi bolters?
Yeah, this is why I don't have. No, I legitimately lost one of the ecto cannons.
I just want to know: did Benny Hill music start playing while you were trying to find all the Nurgle pieces?
All the stages of regret. I'm talking about
brutal.
Stage 1, denial. Was it stage 4?
Have you gotten to acceptance yet?
Is it bargaining?
Have you gotten to acceptance?
Bargaining's in there. Yeah.
It's the loathing and then the bargaining.
Tell me you had your youngest out there convincing him it was a game to see if he could find it.
I went up just for a moment. I went up back upstairs just for a moment of peace, and I'm like, wife, I'm really mad at myself right now. I have lost one of the guns on these tanks that I need to paint for this tournament.
It's a big deal.
Man.
She says, without even skipping a beat, I will come help you.
Oh,
that just warmed my heart.
There you go.
I'm also imagining the scene from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids where Rick Moranis is like suspended above the lawn
with the
magnifying glass.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Classic Moranis.
Woo, wow.
30 minutes later, we find the cannon. And it was only one missing cannon. And it didn't help. So I had primed them brown, right? And then they float out in the yard. So camouflaged, essentially.
It's brutal.
Yeah, we found it. So all pieces were accounted for. But it just makes me realize how lucky I am that I got some help from the family in my moment of crisis.
Okay, I just need you to understand. I play Dark Angels, so I kind of had a similar thing happen one time with. Luckily, it was just like a dude in power armor. But
did you leave your loyalty in the lawn or something?
Oh my gosh! I'm driving to your house tomorrow. We're gonna fight this out.
You lost that sword of secrets.
There's still half of a Space Marine in my yard somewhere. I don't know where, but he's still there. So, well, just normal power armor Marine. They're really hard to come by. So,
well, you try and rush and you do multiple things at once. Now, look, I would have done this anyway. And who would expect a gust of wind to come and scoop this box off the ground? And
outside of all places.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I don't like your tone.
Elements outside? I mean, what an age we're living in here, Paul.
It's that global warming.
It's global warming.
What that means is he's more scared of the wind breaking inside.
No.
It was, and I heard it. That click clack of plastic.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I've been telling you, the abject horror, and then going out there and finding a solid most of the pieces.
I would have sent my wife out. I wouldn't even been able to go. I'd have just please go fetch what's left.
Yeah, just immediate, just straight to resignation.
Yeah.
I remember when that happened to me once with a bunch of Infinity commission figures. This was one of the first commissions that I did a couple years ago, and one of the miniatures fell in the grass, and I lost track of the original number that I had. And I sent a progress picture to the client. I was like, hey, I think there's one missing. And I'm like, by that time, it was already like 10 o'clock at night. So I'm out there with a flashlight, like, scouring the area, hoping I can catch a glint of metal to find it. And luckily, I was able to find it unbroken in the grass. But I feel your pain.
Well, we're still on schedule now for painting for Adepticon for the team tournament. but not by much.
This is probably the closest to being finished for Adepticon I've ever been this far out. So I only have like 10 Liberators, 3 Prosecutors, a Battle Mage.
What are those? What kind of Chaos Space Marines are those?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sigmar, and then I have to finish my 6 Aggressors for my Dark Angels, and then I'm free and clear. I may actually not have to take paint with me to Chicago.
Oh, that's good.
Ricky,
that's a milestone for you.
Yeah, it's a first.
What I want to know is why doesn't Ricky's team have a designated painter? Like, this is the thing that's really changed my perspective on thing. I'm talking to friends, and they have like one guy, like Paul here, doing all the painting. It's the sweetest deal I've ever heard of.
Well, first off, this year I'm not playing in the team tournament. But the last year we played all Dark Angels, so I ended up becoming the designated painter by default because I was the only one that had Dark Angels. So I had.
Hey, at least it all matches, right?
Yeah, that was the thing. We're like, well, we have 4,000 points of this painted, and we can make something fairly competitive. So I guess we're playing Dark Angels.
I know what you were saying there, but I can't let it go. My team actually has 5 or 6 people on it this year.
Just, in case a couple of them don't show up, or?
Well, no, for the painting stuff. Like, I'm getting off light. I'm having to paint like 7 tanks while someone else on the team has to paint 120 Poxwalkers.
Good loud.
Tanks. Yeah, tanks any day of the week. I'd much rather paint tanks than...
Thanks for that.
Oh, my God.
No. We've been victimized.
Yeah, I drew the big straw, and that goes.
Well, luckily you've shared the camo shade tech with the guy painting all those Poxwalkers, so you're guilt free on this one, Paul.
That camo shade is real, and actually part of one of the finishing moves I wanted to talk about on this coming up segment, we'll probably maybe not in this one or whatever, is how to use the shade as not your top coat, and how not to do it all over the miniature. I mean, that's one of the hardest things to kind of remember sometimes, that you don't have to put that shade over the whole miniature. You can just put it on parts of it, even if it's an organic thing like Plague Bearer or whatever. But that's a topic for another day.
I'm a big fan of the pre-shade with an airbrush, and then use a wash, and then working up from there as your base. But I'm a cut corners kind of guy, Paul.
Well, it's not cutting corners if you get the result you want.
It's not a shortcut, bro. It's a technique.
That's the thing. I tell people all the time, like, artists, which I am not one, artists don't have cheats. They have techniques. Us normal people have cheats.
Hacks.
That's truly fair. A friend of mine explained to his sister, who's a visual artist, the approach of wet blending. And she doesn't work in acrylics. She works in oil paints. And she's like, why would you do that with an acrylic paint? So, yeah.
Because we want to be able to use it in the next 120 days.
Exactly.
I have a slight confession, guys. I have owned an airbrush for about 14 months, and I still have never used it.
I was like that too. There's a warming up process where you got to sidle up to your airbrush. Mm-hmm. You got to watch about. I'm pretty sure I could be like an airline pilot at this time, just based on YouTube hours watching
just flight hours,
airbrush, just watching airbrush tutorials before I even turned on my compressor. So you're getting to be around the point where you maybe can do a base coat with it?
Well, first I need a compressor and probably a tube that connects the brush to the compressor.
Harbor Freight
And
for
then,
both those things.
I should probably get some cleaner or something.
That's overrated.
I should also get some space to put the things that are going to be airbrushed.
That's a little, you do want a little bit of space, but the Harbor Freight, we say this all the time, the compressors of Harbor Freight are they're probably made in the same factory as a high dollar compressor. They're just not a high dollar compressor.
100%.
The same $70 compressor, and that's $70. I mean, I bought it $70 with the warranty. The warranty's long expired. I've had the same thing probably my 6th or 7th year with the compressor.
You Americans, you take your incredible online deals for granted. That's all I got to say. What I live and die by is the Michaels 50% off coupon.
No, I bought this. No, that coupon is strong, but I bought this. I mean, we have Harbor Freights around here, but you could order it online.
Oh, I always thought Harbor Freight was an online thing. Sorry, ignorant
No,
foreigner.
there's stores around. Yeah, there's one like 10 minutes from my house.
Get you that compressor.
Even worse.
I looked at it once. Does that count? It's like Carl and Hobby Progress. He bought something. I just looked at it.
You got to buy it.
Get yourself one with a tank.
I am a great window shopper.
You were not kidding, though, about that. I mean, we talk about, of course, we've said it before, but that 40% off coupon that, like, they expect
for real.
people to go in and buy, like, a handful of sequins or something. You know, they don't expect you to get your full-on 40K hobby stuff.
Sable hair brushes.
I went to Hobby Lobby 3 days in a row. I got a hose one day. I got a compressor one day. I got the brush the next day. I saved quite a bit.
I got a buddy, they know him by a face. He doesn't even have to scan his coupon anymore. They just give him 40% off.
Yeah, I just have mine ready on the phone. I just walk up and set the phone down. Like, it's much more convenient now that it has the barcode. They just scan the barcode from your phone instead of you having to tell them the number like you used to at Hobby Lobby.
No, he walks in like, yeah, Brandon, get what you want.
Yeah, all right, you're good. We know. You know the deal.
I'm getting into some, I guess I've reached that stage where I've run out of like things I need to buy. I've got more miniatures I could ever deal with in my entire life. And so what did I get recently off of Amazon? I bought one of those, like light boxes. It's a beautiful thing for taking nice pictures of my minis.
Oh yeah.
So that's my, or maybe hopefully improving my resale value on eBay.
Check out the Table War stuff of the macro mats.
I also own that, Paul.
Oh, there you go.
So
yeah, with our powers combined, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I got a light box from Amazon, and then I have the macro mats to make life better.
Sometimes I put a white sheet of paper behind my model before I take a picture.
Oh, I take the jankiest iPhone 6 photos and post them on Twitter.
That's what I do.
Listen, if we're gonna compare, if this is a contest for old tech, I've got the 5S, bro. That's what I'm taking my photos with.
Well, it's the angles. I try to find the
half
sweetest.
off. Yeah.
Well, if you look like
the golden angle, what did DW call it?
They show you out they basically tell you that every model has the golden angle. And I'm sure that it does. I mean, it has to, right? I'm just not good at finding it.
I go for the good enough angle.
With Custodes, like every angle is the golden angle. So you can't lose if you take photos of those.
If everything's gold, you're good.
Yeah, I do enjoy, I said, the whole idea of posting things on Twitter to help just get that hobby accountability. People see your stuff and they like, hey, sometimes they'll ask you, did you finish that thing yet? Oh, thank you for the shame. Not yet. It's almost done. But let me take another picture.
When I'm really procrastinating the hobby, I like to apply filters to my pictures of in-game action. Like get a little like J.J. Abrams lens flare going on behind my Stompa. Just really artistic shots. Exactly. Actually, it's pretty cool.
Stylins.
There are some advanced apps where you can add like laser beams and stuff. I haven't gone there yet.
I own one of those. It was like 25 cents or something. Also, yes, I have a laser beam. It lets me check line of sight.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I have enjoyed the hobby, like the struggle that have been in. I talk about getting ready for tournaments and then painting 2 different armies for tournaments. It's been really fun. And then when you look at like this army, like to jump over to Sigmar for a minute, the Daughters of Cain, and you look at it like I could never paint that.
I'm gonna be honest. I got Morathi sitting here, primed her, started painting on her, did such a terrible job. I re-primed over it, so I'm going for round 2 here.
She's begging for an airbrush to me. Like it looks like a model that would just do so well with some nice fades off an airbrush. Like is it the Incarn, the one that's got like the swirling I don't know how people airbrush that, but they do. But she's like got like some really good angles on her. She's so dynamic. I love this.
I feel like a Tyranid player could paint her up.
Well, check out the paint app, the Citadel paint app. There is at least the recipes for the colors. Now, there's no technique described here.
Well, Duncan just put out a video for so I just saw where they put out the video. So I'm probably going to watch that. But it's
for me. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's so far out of my comfort zone because I mean, look at what I always paint. I'm always painting Marines, Stormcast Eternals, vehicles, stuff like that. I don't paint organic stuff. So it's like I feel like I'm painting with my left hand. When I sit down, and I just don't have the techniques for that.
I've prefaced this by saying that I think this model is incredible, but I don't know if you guys have caught the reverse angle of her. Because her like cape and stuff, she kind of looks like she's wearing a tube sock because she's a big snake.
Yeah, I'm holding.
It's kind of funny.
Her up. Yeah,
my girlfriend and I were looking at it. She plays Tyranids, and she's a big StarCraft fan. So we were looking at that kit and thinking, wouldn't it be cool to convert the big snake into like a flying hive tyrant?
Sure.
And then the little Marathi into a Queen of Blades broodlord.
Yeah,
that'd be neat.
Half the customers that have told me they want her has been for 40k for
hacking up a Fulgrim.
Yeah. I'm like,
no, that's cool.
I was like, yeah, she's a good model. At Sigmar.
Some people that I know, I'm like, okay, I think I can paint like the leathery wings and the snakeskin and stuff, but how on earth do I do beauty makeup on a model?
Yeah, just a little bit of blush or something, do eyeliner.
Okay, try it. Let me see what ridiculous clown faces you put on your model. I can't wait to look.
You're not doing that for real. Like, I thought you were being
What makes your wife
like,
blush?
serious?
And then try that.
Yeah, I'll just do that. She'll organically blush.
If you really want your Marathi to be from the pageant circuit, I guess you could. But I'm just looking at the
witch elves and stuff. Not Marathi specifically, but the rest of the witch elves and like some of these really striking figures have. It's not a beauty. They're not beauty pageant, but you would refer to that in the business as a beauty makeup.
She's pretty pasty herself.
Yeah. I was going with like a Celestra gray or something, or with what is that, pallid witch flesh or whatever that? Yeah, pallid witch flesh I think is the color for their skin. If you're painting, yeah, like I was painting it on, I was like, this is bone white. Oh no, it's slight gray to it. It is a light shade for skin.
The shade in the paint app says start with Rakar flesh, go with Reichland flesh shade, flayed one flesh as a layer, and then edge highlight with pallid witch flesh.
Oh wow, okay, that's much different than what the Battle Tome had it laid out differently. But I think I like the sound of that better than what the Battle Tome was saying to do. That's a Codex, Paul, for Age of Sigmar.
I've got one of those.
Okay, I was just making sure.
I'm looking. There's some really great zooms of her face on the website here, and I will admit she does have a good amount of eyeshadow, but reptilian eyes. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's real difficult to do some of this,
or she just doesn't get enough sleep
with it.
That's it. She's been a bender for like a week.
That's absolutely it,
guys. I'm not gonna lie. First off, the model is fantastic, but you need
it's amazing.
Yeah, you need to prepare yourself for how long you are going to spend just putting her tail together.
Oh yeah,
it is like, and I'm not exaggerating in any way whatsoever, 4 bajillion pieces.
I would estimate 25 to 30 parts. Just looking at it, it's crazy.
It is a lot. I was working on her, and it was like, okay, I've got to be close to done. Right? I look over. No, I'm like a third of the way. It was just piece after piece, and you can't even look at them and figure out how they go. You have to test fit each piece because it's like working some sort of weird Rubik's Cube that turns into a snake lady.
I counted about 17 things with scales on them. So
yeah, that sounds about right. I gave up. I just kept working, plugging away at it, but it is a lot. She's bigger than I thought she'd be too. Like I thought she was going to be right about the size of the Celestant Prime, because they showed that picture of like their silhouettes beside each other in one of the preview things. But she with the wingspan and everything, she feels much bigger. She's really cool model though.
Well, we're joking around about being inept and never being able to assemble this model. But it is a giant model, and the model range is stunningly beautiful.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think I might even, like, when I start really fleshing out the Harlequins and that kind of stuff, I might try to work in a couple of these models into that line just for variety.
Yeah, they are astounding, and I just gives me hope for the future of perhaps a long anticipated female range for the 40k universe.
I mean, this
Reset the
stuff
clock.
is amazing.
He
Didn't say it. He didn't say it.
The
Talking about lady
only
squats, all right? I'm talking about lady squats.
Now you have to reset 2 clocks at once.
oh my god, that's a lot of clock said. But
I love the clock. This is normal.
we talked about the clock. We've
Just
had
talking about the clock,
quite a
reset the
lively
clock.
discussion in a Facebook group about a clock. That is now the privacy settings in that group have been changed because of the discussion about the clock.
That escalated quickly.
Oh, what have you? But the only thing that's really intimidating is the fact that they are beautiful figures, and then they have beautiful paint jobs that I don't think that we are used to painting on figures. I'm not anyway. I'm definitely not used to doing it, and so it's going to be interesting to try to learn because I want to paint a few of them. And then again, hopefully do things like I dabble in Sigmar. I've certainly had the Sylvaneth, and I'm building out a demon army. That's one of the things I've done this year, kind of like as a treat to myself, as I've got some more demons that I want to build out that I'll use for both 40k and the Sigmar. And I started thinking, like, how can I do that kind of effectively? And it got me thinking about that Chris, that vendor we saw at the LVO, the Squad Marks vendor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And this is something it's currently it's not funded yet. I don't know if it's in production yet, but you can find some more info at squadmarks.com. But they are clip-on things to your bases that you can use, and the clips have little nubs on them that you can paint to signify what's what. So I thought that might be an easy way to switch out some of my demons between 40k and Sigmar and not have to paint like weird stuff on them to signify different things.
That's a real convenient option.
I believe it's really early on, and so he had some there on site, but I believe they're really on in their production. And then it's worth checking out if that's something that fits for you. That's squadmarks.com. They are neat. They fit. They clip on and off to the bases.
It's a really cool concept. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah,
especially these days with mixed faction armies, and you really want to. I mean, not even just for your opponent, but for yourself. Like have some good visual reminders of who's in what attachment. And this is a nice way of
attachment gets different rules.
Yeah, and right now, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of it with my Tyranid army, like how to represent that. Like, I'm thinking, do I want to paint, these models with different rims on their bases or something like that? I'm thinking like, I don't know if you've seen those those wine glass gems that you can get to mark your wine glass, but that would look ghetto. I don't know. There's got to be maybe I can get some funny hats that I could put on certain ones. There's got to be a better solution.
There's a bunch of different ways to squad mark people or squad mark things, but some people just have like a real attachment to one way or the other. And like we often say, like for Tyranids, why don't you just paint their eyes differently? Why don't you paint their tongues differently or the tips of their claws differently? And they're like, I would never do that. This is a ravening horde and they must all look uniform because they're all birthed from the same mother, and that mother is me.
And ultimately, that's why I like
that.
a meta approach. Something that's actually more of a a game aid solution to it. Because the other thing is like my Malwalks, maybe they're Chronos this week, but next week maybe I want 2 of them to be with the Leviathan detachment. Whatever. You probably want to come up with some sort of a solution that is movable and not permanently on the model. So I get people who react like that.
Well, the fact is that there's just solutions out there for either one of these things.
I'd agree.
And sometimes you might not be the guy who feels that way, but you want to feel that guy that tournament. You want to jump up your squad from 30 to 10, from 20 to 30, and you don't want to repaint a model. So something like this could benefit you. I mean, again, it's your personal preference. It's a solution to a problem that's out there, but you have to decide if it's your solution or if it's even your problem.
Yeah,
I just thought it was neat.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's much easier than repainting shoulder pads and applying new tactical squad markings and squad numbers and everything. So
trying to remove a decal from a model is very difficult for me.
Yeah, mine do not come off because mine are sandwiched between 2 layers of varnish, so it's part of the model at that point. So, short of dipping it in green stuff and leaving it for a day or 2, it's on
green,
there.
Not green stuff.
Oh yeah, simple. Yeah, don't dip it in green stuff.
You guys are still on simple.
Terrible.
You guys are still simple clean men.
Just paving over the thing with green stuff.
100% super clean. is the purple one. 100%. Take it home to the bank, guys. That's what you should be stripping your models with.
All right, fair enough. I mean, no, there's different schools of thought.
No, there's no different
I'm an
schools.
isopropyl alcohol person myself.
There's the right school and then there's the wrong schools. I will die on this mountain.
I don't know if it was just what was on my miniature, but I've had that purple stuff like have a chemical reaction. Not to me, but like when I came back to check on the miniature and it was a solid like crystalline formation.
Not what I would call a resounding endorsement,
was that on an Eldar model by chance?
This was an old Tycho.
Are you sure you weren't just checking up on your meth lab?
I broke it down into blue ice. No, it was. I'm pretty sure I threw that model away.
That's how chemistry works.
Yeah,
from what I understand, Super Clean is just basic. It's more basic. That's what makes it different from Simple Green. So it is a more concentrated version of Simple Green. For extra stripping power, I don't know if you guys have gone to the next level of the ultrasonic cleaner. That's where you want to go. You want to get some of those dentistry tools, guys.
Yep. If you have an airbrush and you use it a lot, not you guys, I'm talking about other people out there. But if you use an airbrush a lot, some of that ultrasonic cleaner stuff is that people swear about.
I knew you weren't talking to me about that.
Absolutely.
Actually, I have to use it first and then.
Yeah,
I've actually used an ultrasonic cleaner to rehab synthetic brushes. Believe it or not, so you can use an ultrasonic. It'll break it down. It'll destroy anything that's a natural fiber. It actually turns into this weird alien thing. It's very strange. But if you can use it on a synthetic brush, like any of your cheap brushes, like your dry brushes or whatever. And it'll just take all the paint right out of the what's the metal nub called? It has a name.
Ferrule?
Ferrule, yeah.
Yes. Oh wow. You were there for me, Ricky. Yes, the ferrule. So the ultrasonic cleaner, that's some next level hobby tech right there.
Oh, that's good. Brush soap helps with that too. That's really what jacks your brushes up is when you get some paint in there you didn't realize you had, and you come back, you clean your brush and it looks perfect. You set it down, you come back the next day and it looks like Edward Scissorhands.
I have meant to get this brush soap for 3 years and I haven't done it. So maybe that's on my next Amazon order.
Weird day 1567 of this podcast that I don't have a wet palette.
It's
embarrassing. I'm just dropping the knowledge here. Okay.
Not even embarrassing
wax
anymore.
Paper. You need some wax paper. You need some paper toweling. You take the paper toweling, you fold it over, I don't know, call it 3 times. You wet that paper toweling. You take your parchment paper, you put it on top, boom, got yourself a wet palette, pal.
See, I'm an old school guy that just buy his paint a lot.
And just to clarify, he did say wax paper and then parchment. Use parchment, don't use wax.
To clarify, I tried to correct myself without anyone noticing.
Oops.
It's not an exact science.
Believe in Ricky, he's correct. You want the parchment paper.
Yeah, use the parchment, yeah. The wax, you're just going to get weird, but your cookies won't stick to it, so you're fine.
I think I actually have a lot of wax paper in the house and not parchment paper.
Yeah, no, again, use parchment, not wax.
Parchment.
Well,
you need that semi-permeable membrane there, pal.
Tough.
Smaller words.
It's just not happening.
I think that word is going to get bleeped out.
You ain't using that profanity on my show.
I'm not touching it.
Oh man! Well,
seriously, who just said they didn't have brush soap? Val?
Me. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, get you something, man. This what is it? Original B&J. It's what I use. What the Masters?
I'm intrigued. Go ahead.
The Masters brush cleaner and preserver. This thing smells like lavender or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like my favorite thing to use when I'm done painting because it's just got this great smell to it. So like when I'm cleaning my brush, I get like this wonderful little smell. And
you get aggressive with it too, like you get that brush all in there.
Yeah. I thought when I first got it, like none of my friends use it, so I'm usually kind of the one that kind of like gets this stuff and tries it out. Then I go to them and I'm like, oh, okay, nerds, do this. And like, so I got it, but I didn't know how to use it, so I was like going kind of soft with it at first. And then like I've learned that you just kind of just get all up in it And
it makes you look like you're jacking your brush up. But what you're really doing is you're getting that paint out of the ferrule.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we might be talking about some Tau stuff, or we might put this after the Tau stuff. I don't know. Depending on when you hear this, we are hopefully to have some Tau coverage coming up pretty soon. And if not, if we don't happen to get it in hands by the time we have to release the show, we will make sure that the second half is some amazing content. Thank y'all very much for sticking with us. And I'm covering my bases, but if this is the end of the show, we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best accidental finishing moves we've ever done.
Amen. There was like 5 finishing moves there.
There was a lot.
That was a combo. This is a finishing combo.
See y'all, guys.
Go ahead, make my day.